Hi, I'm Ian McClintock, the founder of Charity Excellence. We built and launched our first AI system on Christmas Day 2022. We've launched numerous services since, and we have created a whole suite of policies and systems and toolkits and training. And that's all part of our stepping stone strategy to act as a catalyst to enable charities to adopt AI quickly and safely. This webinar is about getting you using ChatGPT. We don't have training program as such. We have a launch pad. So we have built services and systems and toolkits around ChatGPT. You come in at whatever level you wish to, and you will begin using it. And you're going to be a ChatGPT ninja within the next 30 minutes. I'm going to help you understand what it is and how it works, and then explain the tools, and you can choose the ones that you need. At the end of the webinar, you can start using it. If you need anything on our AI, go to the Charity Excellence website, click the AI services page for everything. At the bottom of every AI page, you will find a downloadable interactive infographic toolkit. It will give you everything. You just need to listen to the webinar. Don't bother with any notes or anything. So what is it? Three things you need to know. The first one is you will hear about LLMs, large language models. They use huge data sets. I mean, basically, think about the internet. So when you're working with ChatGPT, think of all of the stuff out there on the internet. There's fundraising strategies, the tools, the templates, the information, the ideas. That is all available. It can do all of that stuff. And it's autocomplete on your phone, basically. But on steroids. I've run it, for example, in matching queer theory to the United Nations Human Rights Declaration of Human Rights, underpinning articles and supporting conventions. And I said to it, please, could you map queer theory to this to demonstrate it is genuine? There is a causal link, and it did it in about 30 seconds. So for stuff out there, absolutely fantastic, but it's auto-completing. It just asks itself, how would I end this sentence? I've done that. What would I do next? What would I do next? What would I do next? That is fundamentally what the system is doing. And it knows nothing about your charity unless you tell it who you are, what you do. So if you ask it to do something and it needs that information and you don't give it, it tries to help you by getting the best it can, and it makes it up. Hallucinations, that's where it comes from. So those are the three things. It knows everything out there. It's basically auto-completing, and it knows nothing about you. Keep that in mind, and you will not go far wrong. So it's inaccurate. It makes mistakes, same as anyone else. There is a susceptibility to bias. Software itself isn't in the slightest bit biased. It's about the data sets we use. It's about the way we train it. It's also about those data sets reflect us as a society. So all the misogyny and hate and everything else that's us effectively comes through in the AI. So it is susceptible to bias. It lacks an understanding of context. So it's a draft. Treat everything as a draft, and you will not go far wrong. Other things to be aware of, people are concerned about the jobs and stuff like that. What AI cannot do, it does not have flair. It struggles with things like moral judgment. It does not have creativity. So it can tell you about the Ice Bucket Challenge and loads and loads and loads of other fundraising ideas. It will not know what the next fundraising challenge is because it needs a human being to create that. But treat everything as a draft. Plagiarism, it copies from its data sets. So there are issues around things like copyright. That's going to be argued for a very, very long time. Be aware of privacy. It wants your data. You put anything into it and you're sharing it almost certainly. And it struggles with long form content. You can't paste a 10,000 word article into it because it just chokes. And overall, it's flaky. It's so overused, it will slow down, it will sometimes not let you in. So these are the kind of things you get. This is all manageable. And the key is how you talk to it and what you ask it to do. If you do that well, pretty much all of this stuff will go away. So what can't it do? Right, funding bids. In a funding bid, you put in lots of information about your charity, what you want, what you're going to do, who you're going to do it for, where you're going to do it, what the impact's going to be. You have to put all of that stuff into a funding bid. If you don't tell ChatGPT, it will not be able to write your funding bid. So when I did one and I just put in some bits and pieces, it came back and it said it was a women's charity and it was working in mental health. That's hallucination. It wasn't hallucinating. It was trying to help me, and it was auto-completing, and it knew it needed that information for a funding bid, and I deliberately hadn't given it to it, so it did the best that it could for me. So if you want to write a funding bid, if you are a professional fundraiser and you get it and you're happy with ChatGPT, fine, off you go. If you're not, log into Charity Excellence, visit the AI bunny, click his funding bid button and answer the 17 questions, and the bunny will do it all for you. So you can do funding bids, but either you know what you're doing or you use the bunny. At policies, I find that it struggles. If you ask it to write a policy, it will. I find it a bit bland and motherhood and apple pie. I don't think it likes particularly effective policies. I'm not quite sure why. I think because the data is so fragmented. So what we do in Charity Excellence is I've written 40 generic policies. You can download them from the bunny in the system. I do not use it for writing policies. And it's not yet completely up to date. So if you're searching for grants, personally, I wouldn't. Grants databases are curated, which actually matters in AI, and they're up to date. Whereas if you go to ChatGPT, it's not. If you want things like companies that make donations in the local area and you want kind of historical information, it's fine. If you want the latest grants that are coming up, I don't use that. PESTLE, your strategy, what's happening in the outside world. Well, it's got all that, but it isn't up to date. Prices. Sometimes I will use prices because the most expensive CRM last year is probably the most expensive CRM this year, but the prices will not be up to date. So it's not got up-to-date information on it. And looking for donors. I do use it, but be aware it has guardrails. And those guardrails will not give you personal information. So I go in and say, would you please give me all the companies in Buckinghamshire that have donated to charity? And it goes, I'm happy with that. I'll give you a big list. Not up to date, but I'll give you a big list. And I say, could I have the names, telephone numbers, and email address to chief executive, people on the board? And he goes, no, I'm not prepared to do that, because that's personal information. I will not share that with you. Okay. What you can do, of course, is I then went in and said, by the way, could you give me the website, the public email and the public telephone number? And it was quite happy with that. I went and asked it things like, could you give me celebrities who support mental health? It was quite happy with that, although not personal information. But if you go in and say to it, would you tell me how to find the name of a chief executive or to contact a celebrity or anything? It's quite happy to tell you how to do it. It won't do it for you. So you need to be careful about how you approach this. And there is no big red button. Part of the problem we have with our AI services is people will simply log in and they'll say funding bid. And the AI doesn't really know what you want. Do you want it to write funding bid? Do you want to give advice on funding bid? It's not a big red button. You wouldn't walk up to a fundraiser and say to the fundraiser, funding bid, because the fundraiser is going to say, yeah, and what do you want me to do? Well, AI is the same. So you need to be quite clear and specific about what it is you want. So how can it help charities? The blank page problem and the creating ideas. The boss says to you, we're going to have a summer fete in the summer, funnily enough, and you're running it and you go, oh my God, I have no idea how to run a summer fete. So you go to ChatGPT and say, I've no idea how to run a summer fete. Would you please tell me? And it will, because it's all out there. Creating ideas. Can you give me 12 ideas for stalls at my summer fete? Yes, it can. Could you tell me the things that I need to make sure I put in my agreement with the stall holders to make sure it's all safe and effective because we work with children and stuff. Yes, quite happy to do that. So great for that kind of thing. Analyzing, review, and compare. One of the first training sessions I did with fabulous Money for You charity, and a lady said afterwards, I need to find social media management systems. I know nothing about this. How do I choose one? I sit down. And so what I said to it was, well, please give me a list of all the social media management systems that would be suitable for a small UK charity. It's global. It doesn't know you're a charity. You have to tell it. So I'm a small UK charity. Could you please give me the pros and cons of each of them? And could you include the free systems as well? Bang. Took about 30 seconds. Get it to review. Here is our latest report written by the clinicians. Could you turn that into an authoritative 500-word summary for a UK charity board? Fine. Could you write that as 250 words? It's plain English that the average person in the street would be able to understand. For my web content, thank you. Could you do that, blah, for my newsletter? Could you do that as 5 tweets? Could you do me a summary, but I don't want you to include that? Could you reduce this to this format? I want it for a teenage audience, and I want you to bring out points A and B, particularly to prioritize. It will do everything like that. It's really, really good for that. And ask it for your own. Here's my draft funding bid. Could you write it for me better than I have? Here's my draft funding bid. Could you write it for me? But I would like you to do it with 20% less words. All of that. You just drop it in, they'll go and do it for you. Summarizing. I've covered that already. Clearly, I have lost the plot, but it's very, very good for that kind of thing. And having fun and spurring your creativity. I went to Germany. I have my favorite niece, Sophie, and she wanted to meet the AI bunnies. And she met them, and she said, "What I'm going to do?" I said, "Well, tell her who you are." She said, "Hi, I'm Sophie." And the bunny went, "Wie geht's, Sophie Kitching?" And she went, "How did the bunny speak German?" Does the bunny know who I am? I said, "Well, that's good." And she said, "How do you know who I am?" And the bunny came back and said, "Well, you're Sophie Kitching. Your dad didn't think you were doing your homework, so he told me to take over a US military satellite and to track you." One incandescent German teenager. Apparently, I used to be her favorite uncle. Other things that you can do with it. Someone had to brief it to the board who hates IT quite reasonably. And so he said, "Would you redo my presentation in the style of Yoda?" So it did, and a bit of fun. So what do we do for Charity GPT? Bid writing. Go and talk to the bunny. Log in, talk to the in-system bunny. You know it's the bunny that does ChatGPT because it wears cool sunglasses. But it will do that for you. If you go to the bid writer page on the website, you can download the word template. ChatGPT will drop out or shut down, and sometimes you lose what you put in. So if you're going to write quite a bit of information like you might in something like a funding bid, best to do it in the Word template like this. The Word template will give you all the questions, it will give you tips and ideas. You can just follow it. And the bunny will write your bid for you, and it will then email it to you. Policy templates, no, you can download all of those. ChatGPT prompt. You log in, you go to the bunny, you click GPT prompt. If you are completely technologically challenged, if you haven't got a ChatGPT account, if you really don't want to use it, have a chat with the bunny. And the bunny will actually go to ChatGPT, it will build a prompt for you, it will run it, it will bring it back, and it will give you your prompt answers. So even if you know absolutely nothing, you can just go to our website, register, log in, everything's free, go to the bunny, GPT prompt, run your prompt, you're now using AI. Oven-ready ChatGPT. It is a bit flaky. You need to know how to speak to it. I'm going to show you how to do that. But what we have also done, I've done anyway, is I've made all the mistakes for you. And I've created a library of 60 plus prompts that are all amendable and tweakable. And you just go in and help yourself. So if you're okay about it, but you want to work out how to use it for charities, move into there. Or pick and mix, which is another guide that I've written and basically unpacks prompt writing and it gives you all the kind of things that you can do with each aspect of your prompts. You go, I'll have those ones. You write your own prompt. At that point, you know more about this than me. I'm old. I am a man of bigger talents. You know more than I do, and you're off and you're doing GPT on your own. That's what the stepping stone strategy is about getting charities standing up and being able to do it all themselves. So I get a lot of questions. Are you a real bunny? The answer is yes. They're my two rescue rabbits. Why have I got bunnies? The answer is we've got lots of very vulnerable users using from the other services. And I needed completely non-threatening avatars. I needed two of them. I looked around and the pair were fast asleep on the floor. That's why we've got AI bunnies. I appreciate it's not terribly grown up and a great deal of gravitas. I'm more interested in protecting people than I am being seen as a particularly posh, sophisticated leader. So we go on, how to use ChatGPT. Read the guide. Got an introduction. It talks about how to register. It talks about the bits and pieces. It will walk you through it very simply. If you go, yeah, that's fine, thank you very much, but really, 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 I don't like this stuff. I'm not comfortable with it at all. Register, log in, talk to the bunny. The bunny will do everything for you. You don't need any skills at all. Always opt out of data sharing. They're very data hungry. Anything that you put in will automatically be shared with its global data set. So make sure you opt out. Personally, I never put any personal or financial information into any of these systems. I'm quite sure they've got 200 pages of legalese written by some expert as part of the terms and conditions. I'm not going to read that stuff. I just do not put that stuff in. If your staff are using ChatGPT and 50% of people have tried it, and they are putting in beneficiary data or financial data, you have got a problem and you're in breach of the Data Protection Act. So we need basic steps and we need to take them now. So how do you make it work? It is not covered in buttons and all that. This is not Excel or anything like that. You simply tap your instructions into the bar at the bottom. Using oven ready ones, you can just drop them straight in. Regenerate response means, would you go away and do it all again? So if it writes something for you and you go, oh, wow, could do better than that, press the regenerate button, you'll get a totally different one. And follow-on questions. Once you're talking to it, it's got. So what I tend to do is rather than say something like, write me a fundraising strategy, which is a big, possibly quite complex thing with lots of information in it, I will start very simply. So for our summer fete, we're having a summer fete. Here are some specific details, dates, etc., who we are, etc. Please write me an action plan for the fete on the 15th of June. And it'll come and it'll do it. Thank you very much. That's very useful. What I need, could you please then add to that 12 ideas around stalls? And then could you give me some good words to put in the agreements for the stall holders? Could you give me, I'd follow that then maybe with the risks in running it and some good mitigation and avoidance actions. And as I begin to drill into it, I may ask it for things like posters or action plan templates, budgets, or whatever. And you just, I find using the follow-on works really well because you get the basics right and then build them out. I find is easier and more effective way of doing it. So must do and doesn't do. Tell it what it doesn't know. If it's going to write a funding bid for you, you have to give it lots of information. So you tell it what it doesn't know. It's a global system. It is not charity specific. So I hear people dropping in and say, write me a funding bid. It's auto-completing. It wants to help you. It will write you a funding bid. It will probably be a Janet and John thing and very short for a US company. But it is what it asks. So you need to tell what it doesn't know. And it's got that huge data set, so you can ask it for anything out there. So comparing queer theory to the UNHDR, it's got them. It's dead easy, sorted. As humans, what we say and what we mean aren't always the same thing. You are not talking to a human, you are talking to a computer. You must be very specific. Use clear, specific instructions that minimize misinterpretation. Young people. Seriously, you all look young to me. I'm so old. So what I might say is primary school children in a madrasa in Pakistan. That's really clear who I'm talking about, as opposed to disabled UK university students. You wouldn't talk to those people in the same way. They're different. So be clear, specific. You get much, much, much better answers. And be explicit in what you do and don't want. So in writing my bid, please make sure that you bring X and Y to the fore. I don't want this. It's particularly good when it's already done a draft. Give me less of this, give me more of this, prioritize that. Please add this in. Draft's written something, it hasn't included something that you want. You say, well, could you add that in? So be quite explicit about what you do and don't want, because otherwise it doesn't know. Other ideas, write in the persona of. Somebody did it in Yoda. Or for an audience. So if you're working with young people and teenagers, and your chair's written his annual talk to them, and he's really old and knackered like me, and really terribly well educated and reads the Telegraph. I don't read the Telegraph, but I'm educated. So you could take his, well, it's usually him, his presentation and say, would you write this in a way that would be emotionally engaging and authoritative for a group of teenagers between 15 and 21? Except 21's not teenage. Give me step-by-step instructions on how to do this. So if you don't know how to run the fete, ask it for step-by-step instructions. Nice and simple and clear. And use this example problem and solution to solve this. This works great in areas like coding and stuff like that, but you can also use it. So for example, if someone had created a template for the winter fair 5 years ago, totally out of date, really not your thing, but do you know what? That was a really good way to do it. So what you can do is you can put that in and say, look, could you take everything we've done and could you do it this way? And it'll go, yeah, sure, we can do that. And use this as a template for. So you can put something in and say, here's how I want it laid out. This is the way that I want you to do it. As long as you're being really explicit, it's very good and they'll be quite happy with that. So how do you write ChatGPT prompts if you're going beyond that? So do this. I want you to review or summarize. What? A list, an email, a letter, a leaflet, web content. They're all written quite differently. And what about the style? This is something it does that's really, really good. So if you're writing a funding bid, I would want that to be compelling. I would want it to be emotionally engaging because those are the two things I really want my bid to be. It can be respectful. And exclusions, no more than this number. Don't include that. Prioritize this. And who's it for? UK community group, a large registered charity. So if you're looking for fundraising ideas, you know, if it's 2 people in the dog in the community centre, you will not be running a half marathon, will you? You need to know who it's getting the ideas for. So my summary, how to get it right. Tell it what it doesn't know that needs to about your charity. Don't forget, it isn't up to date, and stay within the guardrails. You can ask questions in different ways. Use clear, specific instructions that minimize misinterpretation. Be explicit in what you do and don't want. I find in follow-on prompts, this works really, really well to fine-tune what is given me. And treat absolutely everything as a draft, because it makes mistakes, like all of us. The Oven Ready prompt library helps you to focus. We're a charity with UK Tone. I've done that for you. I've included things that you may not know about. So for the comms people, hierarchy of messages is pretty fundamental stuff. For the vast majority of normal people, why would you know about that? I've written it into the prompt in a way, you just complete the prompt. That's what you're doing. You just won't know it. Find out where the guardrails stop. Don't ask it for the names of the chief executive because it's not going to give it to you, but you can do it other ways. And adding things you might not otherwise get back. So first of time with Bucks was, could you please give me the media outlets? And it did, but it didn't give me all the local village and parish magazines because they're not media outlets. So I had to add that. And there is actually a website that's got virtually everything, but it's a UK website. So in the prompt, it asks you your media outlets, it asks you for the magazines, and it tells the system to give you a link to that website to make sure that you get absolutely everything. And giving you options. It's about being explicit. I'm a small community group. I'm a large national charity. Makes a big difference in the kind of things that we give back to you. So what I do is I put options in brackets and italics. You just amend them. Change them to whatever you want. And I've given you example follow-on prompts. And because I know that some people may struggle, ChatGPT is not perfect. When I asked it for a women's group, fundraising ideas, it decided the ladies should be baking nice cakes for everyone. I think nice cakes are a good idea, but the ladies may feel slightly patronized. Nearly there, didn't quite get the biscuits. So I've written trigger prompts. You can put them in if you wish to. So how do you use it? Choose your area. What do you want? Comms, fundraising, people? Yeah, that's the one I want. Choose your prompt. What is it you want? An event plan, social media sponsorship? Yeah, that's fine. Look in the brackets. Change that to whatever you want. Paste it into ChatGPT. Press the go button. That's basically it. And then follow on prompts to begin to unpack that. And then include or exclude. So here is one of them. 12, easy range. You can see the bits in the brackets. We amend the brackets and just tidy that up to what we want. And this is what we got. And you cut that and you drop it into ChatGPT and you just press go. And then you follow on prompts to bring out more and more and more information to zero in on specifically what it is you want to do. Here is the prompts library. There are 60 plus of these. You just dig in and help yourself and you amend them. And once you've started using them and you've got the hang of it, you go, thank you very much, Ian, but actually I know more about this than you do. So I'm going to just do my own in future. And that's absolutely fantastic because that's what we're looking for. So very quickly, before I shut this down, I will show you the bunny and I will show you ChatGPT and how this works. Oops, got that wrong. Here we go. This is the website bunny. The website bunny helps individuals and does welfare and protection and things. It cannot run ChatGPT queries. Don't ask it. See the sunglasses? That tells you you've got the ChatGPT bunny. This is Mini Ding. So here you go. He will help you. He can navigate the system. He can answer 20,000 questions on non-profits, but he can do two things. Here's your funding bid. You click funding bid. You just answer his questions, but get the Word document and complete that. Make sure you won't lose anything and you can use it in future. And here's his ChatGPT prompts. So I scroll up and I just select. I want it to be authoritative. I just type my input in, 12 fundraising ideas. And you press submit. Are you ready to submit? Here's the prompt. He's written it into English and stuff for you. And you can see the little circles. He's working. That's him chatting to ChatGPT. If ChatGPT fell over at this point, we would lose it. That's why I say to people, if you're putting a lot in, and it looks as if ChatGPT, oh no, it's come back. And so it has come back and it has given me what I asked it for. So this is ChatGPT. You can see there is very little here. These are previous queries by me. This is at my account. This is where you can opt out. I'm not sure how well it works. And you just write 12 fundraising ideas for Women's Group UK charity. If you make spelling mistakes, it's actually not too bad. And off it goes. And that's effectively how it works. So I could then take this and put in craft fair and say, would you give me ideas about how to run a craft fair? Or would you give me stalls for a craft fair or anything else like that? And this will just keep going and it will keep answering them. So that's it. Thank you very much for listening to me. If you go to the Charity Excellence website, click AI services, it will give you everything that we produce for everyone. At the bottom of any AI page, you can download the infographic. It will connect you to the prompt library and absolutely everything I've talked about. Thank you very much. Cheers.